Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of DG USI, I welcome you to the book launch titled Wings of Support 9 Decades of Action by Transport Fleet of Indian Air Force, authored by Air Marshal Rajeev Sachdeva, under the Flying Officer Amandeep Singh Gill, Chair of Excellence. Ladies and gentlemen, now we move to the most highly anticipated part of this event, the fireside chat. To take us behind the pages, we have Mr. Sandeep Unnithan, Executive Editor, India Today, joining our author, Air Marshal Rajeev Sachdeva. This is going to be an intimate, candid conversation about the inspiration, the untold stories, and the heart behind the book. Now I welcome Mr. Sandeep Unnithan and Air Marshal Rajeev Sachdeva for the fireside chat.
Congratulations on your book. Is today the 8th of October? The last time I saw such a distinguished gathering of air warriors was on the 8th of October.
That's an honor which has been given by so many of my seniors who actually led me into the Air Force and my course-mates from NDC and school and so on. So that's how the gathering is.
You're extremely popular, I can tell that once. But I must start this story. Firstly, congratulations again on your book. I read it in one day and it was what a fascinating sweep of history. I mean, there were so many stories that I didn't know about. And I kept circling this thing. I need to ask you more about this gentleman who was stuck behind enemy lines and all that. And it's a wealth of stories. How did you get all this information?
First of all, the story started with AVM Arjun Subramaniam, my course-mate. He asked me to write a chapter for a book which he was doing for NDC. I was no author, nothing like writing and all. I was covered on CDM, we used to do the checking and all, but not writing something. Anyway, he made me write, coaxed me, and he gave me the title as Versatile Transport Fleet of Indian Air Force. So that lit fire. Thereafter, USI made me write a chapter for a book. CAPS made me write a chapter for a book. IDSA, VIF, Strive India. That's when my daughter and my wife said, "Kya kar rahe ho? Why don't you write your own book?" Chapter hi likhe ja rahe ho and you don't get a chance to sit like this and tell people. So that's when Skona Rana as Chinna came to my rescue and he says, "Sir, I know everything about all the books of Indian Air Force and history. There is no consolidated book on the transport fleet of Indian Air Force. There is information available all over across the libraries, but no consolidated book. How about doing that?" So I went down to General B.K. Sharma. I was a council member in USI. He was my DG. I said, "This is what has been told to me. I want to write a book. What do I do?" He said, "I've got a chair of excellence lying with me. Why don't you take this chair, and it's an Air Force chair and you're an Air Force officer. How about doing it for this?" So that's so. I said, "What is a chair?" So I said, "Kuch chair of excellence, kuch aisa hoga or something." He said, "No, this is how we will tell you, we will guide you and we'll go ahead." So the book journey started. Now, how do I get this information is your question. This is where I got stuck. How do I get this information? Yes, my information, which I have 39 years of experience, that doesn't go into a book. I want information. So I wrote a polite DO to the previous chief, Air Chief Marshal V.R. Chaudhary. I said, "This is what has been my thought. I want to do something, but I want data from you." Ladies and gentlemen, 15 days later, Air Marshal Tejbir, who was the ACS TNH, called me to his office. But smartly tied to laga ke, scent laga ke, I reached there. And he had the entire MPR. MPR is those who look after the history and the documents of Indian Air Force and the transport team of Indian Air Force with him in his office. He says, "Sir ne DO likha chief ko. Chief has put his comments on the side and now we'll have to work on it." So I asked him, "What are the comments?" He said, "The chief has written, give him full support." Now if the chief writes full support and I have a person like Tejbir sitting there, he says, "Jo chaida la lo." And he deputed a group captain from TNH with me. All officers from the squadrons, one officer from each squadron got attached to this group captain. And the mails were coming from Air Headquarters to me. And the amount of information I got, I think I would be able to put only 10% in the book. The rest all will come later.
This is a fascinating story of the making of the book itself. That's a separate book, as you know. It's so
this is how the whole story went on about writing getting the data.
And when I was going through your book, I have a transport squadron story myself, and this starts 25 years back. A group of Indian journalists stuck in Afghanistan, December 2001. Parakram is on in full swing. And we are stranded there because we are at Bagram Air Base. And the most delightful sight in my life that I ever recall seeing is a grey IL-76 landing over there. I said, boss, bach gaye.
So that's what our IL-76 has been. And ladies and gentlemen, we have amongst us the pilot who went for the first batch of IL-76 to Moscow. Can we give him a big hand? Group Captain Vadera sir. Righty sir, haath to hila do. There he is.
Thank you for your service, sir. But tell us about the other stories in this book. Your book is full of stories, you know, right from the fact that that famous Srinagar airlift, October 1947, who can forget that? For all of those who don't know this, you had the Air Force built a bridge very quickly from Palam to Srinagar, saved the state for us. Poonch again.
Today we proudly say Kashmir se Kanyakumari tak Bharat ek hai. If this bridging had not happened, then I'm sorry, we would have been saying Pathankot se Kanyakumari tak Bharat ek hai. Yes, on 26th night, when the accession happened in the evening, and in the night, the Air Force was told, you have to take the 1/6 all the way to Srinagar. We don't know whether the Srinagar airfield is under the Pakistani Rangers or it is still with the Indian forces. Please go ascertain yourself. Dakota had never crossed the Banihal Pass. They had never gone to 10,000, 11,000 feet to go in. They had never gone to Srinagar. Anyway, task was given, 5:30 in the morning, CO Wing Commander Bhatia of 12th Squadron, the only squadron which we had with 10 Dakotas, that day 8 serviceable, or 3 serviceable, and each Dakota carries 3 tons, just for your thing. So they carried about 22 troops with the equipment on board. He went into the ball, circled over the so-called airfield, which was for Maharaja's small aircraft, went down, and he presumed that it is under the Indian occupation, and he landed. And that is how his aeroplanes thereafter followed. The civil aeroplanes came up, which had the Air Force pilots, and round the clock for next 1.5 years, this thing carried on. And ladies and gentlemen, I will introduce you to one more person sitting in this hall, Wing Commander Bhatia, who was the first CO who landed in Srinagar and saved Kashmir. His son is with us today. Sir, can we have a... He has dedicated one full room to his father. His Veer Chakra, his log books, his photographs and everything. So when I entered that room in his house, I was shocked. I said, it's a museum. He said, ye room Pitaji ka hai. So that's the story about Srinagar. Well, his father got shot when he was going to Poonch. The fin flew off. Without the fin, he landed in Poonch because the equipment which he was carrying and the weapons which he was carrying were very important to be handed over there. He landed, left the aircraft there, and he was picked up in the evening in another aircraft. That aircraft was there, but the equipment was delivered. And for that, his father got a Veer Chakra.
Point about the Air Force being bridge builders is on point, because I wouldn't believe this if I hadn't seen it myself. August 2020, I was there in Ladakh, the air base. In fact, my Twitter DP hasn't changed for 6 years, because on my head is an IL-76 that's coming into land. And you know, when I was there, I saw that air bridge that you had built between Chandigarh to Ladakh. And I knew immediately that 2020 is not going to be 1962, right? Because the Air Force was in full strength over there. So remarkable achievements there, sir. But do you get the sense that the transport fleet does the unglamorous daily flying? Not a lot of credit goes to you, because everyone wants to be a fighter pilot. You ask any young kid, he wants to be a fighter pilot. We were just talking to Brigadier General Joshua Shani, who flew the Entebbe mission just about 2 weeks back here at the USI. If you look at all the movies made on Entebbe, the pilots get very little attention. It's always the commandos, the guys who planned the mission. But without the pilots, you could not have flown 6,000 kilometers up and down.
Luckily, today we have the chief with us and the senior most transport pilot here. We've done a similar mission to Sudan. And in 120 minutes, we've rescued So many people from Sudan where there was missiles flying all over, and the ATC told the crew, land at your own risk in the night because we have nothing. They landed on the night vision equipment, picked up the Indians who were stuck there and brought them to Jordan. Thereafter the C-17 brought it back. So why don't we do a film on that and then you take it on? Yes, the Indian Air Force is doing similar things.
Right. Your book is full of film scripts, actually, micro dramas. You know, every page is literally a micro drama. I must say that. You know, and what 90 years of Indian Air Force history that you've captured. You've gone on from what, 300 tons to 3,000 tons, or is it 600?
10 Dakotas, 3 tons per Dakota. The carrying capacity was 30 tons. Today, when I mathematically calculated, we have a capacity of 3,000 tons. And it's increasing because the Air Force has already put in an RFI and for more aeroplanes. And if it's increasing, not because it's just increasing, because India is now got a global footprint. If we have to be Viksit Bharat with a global footprint, I think the chief will have to have a fleet which can take you around the globe. Yeah, that reminds me. Global footprint. You know, February 2020, I'll just request everybody to just go back to February 2020. By November, December, something by the name of Wuhan virus had come into this world, and the world didn't know, will it hit us? Will it not hit us? What do we do? What we don't do? How do we go about it? Anyway, by February 2020, we knew that a lot of people have died in Wuhan. The videos were coming, they were falling on the roadside and so on. March 2020, we went into a lockdown. For a long 2-3 months, we went into a lockdown. But February 2020, the call came from Beijing embassy that some Indians are stuck in Wuhan, students. We have to get them back. Ladies and gentlemen, the C-17 crew put up the PPE kit, flew all the way into that Wuhan virus area, picked up not only the Indians but a lot of other things. That's the connectivity and bridging our Air Force is doing. Ek taali to ho jaye yaar.
And let's not forget that incredible operation carried out by the Indian Naval Marine Commandos at the Gulf of Aden.
The book is named Wings of Support because without the support of these wings, a lot of missions won't happen. Now what Sandeep is mentioning is, for those who are not aware, 2,500 kilometers away from Bombay coast, there was an Indian ship which was a ship which was taken over by pirates, and the Indian Navy decided to go and rescue the sailors on board. How do they reach 2,500 kilometers? That is when the Air Force and the Navy got together. They were trained to actually drop the Marcos, the naval commandos, from the air into the sea, and they could go and rescue them. So without this support, the Navy couldn't have got those pirates. So those pictures are all over that the pirates have been caught, the naval Marcos are there. But they were dropped 2,500 kilometers away by the Indian Air Force.
And they did a water jump, which is one of the riskiest things. Only the Marcos can do that kind of thing, directly into the water and stuff. So, you know, every time I see a crisis, as a news person, my first reaction is, where are our C-17s? You know, whether it's Venezuela or, as you mentioned, this piracy operation here off the Gulf of Aden. But give us an idea of how the transport fleet, as you mentioned, has, you know, evolved over the years. Was its importance always understood?
There'll be one page in the book which will show you that from 1946, when the first transport squadron came up with Dakota's 12 squadron, till now, how the transport fleet has never been neglected by the Indian Air Force. We are saying that there are not 42 squadrons, fighters, they are reducing, we have to do this, but nobody has said that the transport fleet is less. Number one, the Air Force has taken care of them. Number two, the fleet is so optimally utilized by the team sitting in air headquarters. They utilize the strategic assets so well that nowhere in the world you will find a void which cannot be filled by the Indian Air Force transport fleet. So I don't think that this fleet induction has been neglected. By the time the Avros were phasing out, or they were having problems because the C-295s are in. And they're in so beautifully that the first Indian C-295 is flying, and I'm sure we'll go beyond 40. And already the MTA is being thought of, 18 to 30 ton class of more aircrafts to come in. because we still haven't bridged the gap of AN-12s. So that also the Air Force is thinking of. So it's never been a shortfall to anything. Earlier, yes, we used to talk about how much of tonnage Army wants to go into Leh. Has the tonnage gone or not? All those of us who were in Chandigarh, and we were struggling. Luckily, my NDC coursemate was there in Leh, and I was in Chandigarh, so we never had this problem. We could link up beautifully and send the load. He will just give me a call, Jana. I said, if he's given a call, to Jana hai. And load will always go. We never. Today, that tonnage problem is over. Because Army's task maybe could be 25, 30,000 tons. That's your carrying capacity in a day. So that's a tonnage for the whole year. So Air Force can do it any now and then. So there's just no problem about the tonnage part. But yes, the strategic roles are increasing. And Indian Air Force is gearing up for that. Like we see 130s in Hercules, they are not used for carrying passengers and all. They're used for something entirely different like the NTB operations.
Absolutely. And, towards the end of your book, you've been very vocal about Atmanirbhar Bharat. And you're a proponent of indigenous manufacturing. But then when you look at the transport fleet, a large part of it is imported, right? You have American jets, you have Russian aircraft, you're getting the C-295s, but they're a foreign design as well. What do you see as your vision for the next 20 years or so when you get to Viksit Bharat? What percentage of our transport fleet will be indigenized?
See, if you're looking for aeroplanes like C-17 or Hercules, obviously, those can't be built overnight. That's a little difficult thing. But if we are looking for middle-class aeroplanes like 8 to 10 tons, that's where the C-295, a step has been taken towards that. 16 aeroplanes already come from Spain. Now 40 being manufactured. You know, these 40 aircraft manufactured by Tata in India, the drawings were all manual with the company, OEM. Tata has digitized them. Because it was a digitized world. They didn't want to, but we have digitized. So is that going to change tomorrow? That means we'll have an aeroplane which has digitized design in India. Will that take on? But asking me to say, okay, can we make a C-17? I don't think we are ready for that as of now. So we will have to pitch in with the foreign OEMs for that.
But the process has begun, like you said, with the drawings.
It takes years. It has begun. Right. With private players coming in, it has begun.
Tell us about the other stories in this book. Again, back to the storytelling. The fact that Wings of Support is not so much about the machines as much about the people who fly them, the pilots, the load masters, the crew, the ground crew, all of that. What is the one story that's really close to your heart when you were doing your research? There are always these stories that come out. What is that one story that you really wish you had been there to witness personally?
See, once you write a book, and it has about 200 to 300 stories. Every story is dear to your heart. So I can't say that one story which is good. I'll throw a few stories there. Why Wings of Support? We've heard about Battle of Asal Uttar. Most of us have read about it. The Flying Officer Barbara, who later was a vice chief, he was flying a recce mission and he saw pattern tanks across coming into India and going back. His information got him a Veer Chakra, but now Army decided to take these pattern tanks in 65. So the requirement which the Army thought which can take on the pattern tanks was a 106 gun mounted on a Jonga. Absolutely, that is the one. Our Havildar Abdul Hamid, he got a PVC while taking on a few tanks, and we had almost about 100 tanks which were destroyed. Pattern tanks was a great thing. But you know where these guns were lying when the Army decided to do this? All these guns were lying in the east, and the battle would have happened in the west. 72 hours non-stop, the N-12s flew 72 guns from east to west, and that is when this Battle of Asal Uttar happened. What if these Wings of Support? So if somebody talks about jointness and theatres, sir, the jointness was then, even then there, that the gun, bring the guns, guns came in. In 62, when our soldiers were hurt and coming back, all the way back to this thing because of the winters and whatever, wounds or whichever, the otters flew low over our own soldiers, gave them medicines, blankets, water, food. They dropped over the soldiers who were coming back because otherwise they would have fallen off and died. That's the kind of wings of support we've been giving to all the battles which are there. So while writing this book, I didn't know 75% of my own book. I've come to know while writing the book that this is all what my so much of transport fleet has done. So, I'll give you some small, let's...
We can continue all day, sir. I mean, that book is really fascinating.
2.5 years that have been only...
2.5 years. It's usually a very lonely thing. I can testify to that. It's a lonely road, but it's so well worth it. And ladies and gentlemen, you don't forget to pick up a copy of the book before you go home. It's full of interesting stories. In conclusion, I must ask you this, Air Marshal Sachdeva. If a young officer picks up this book, what would you want them to take away about choosing transport aircraft over fighters or Hepters?
No, it's not a difficult question. I have Air Marshal Kukreja here. He was the Commandant AFA. When I went for a trifurcation board from Yelahanka, I was CI there. And once there, just for everybody's information, the cadets who are doing the training, they give the option that they want to go to transport, fighters or helicopters or whatever. And generally their option is matched with his performance and he's given that. If somebody doesn't get what he's asked for, then he's called for the interview by the traffication board. Now, why do you want to go to transports? You're good for fighters. Sir, if you remember, there were so many boys who wanted to come to transports, and we were, I mean, not me, the AFA, the CI is also here, Air Marshal Bedi. So they were trying to convince them, no, you must go to fighters. And transports. Let me tell you, there is one fleet of Indian Air Force which is giving an operational output every day. Every day, right till air headquarters, they are monitoring kitna ton utha, kitne passenger gaye, wahan kitna load liya, ye Venezuela gaye, wahan kitna gaya, kya kara, kitne laye. That's an operational output which you are giving every day. So, that's the kind of motivation. Let me tell you, helicopter, transport or fighters, we are all flyers. You know, all men were made equal. Then a few became pilots.
Absolutely. On that note, thank you very much, Air Marshal Sachdeva. What a wonderful conversation this has been. I hand it back over to the MC. Thank you.
I will miss out if I don't mention some of the heroes in my book. There's one chapter only on the Unsung. There's a story on hung upside down to land safely. There was a packet aircraft in the month of November doing circuits and landing at Agra. And in one of the circuits, the nose wheel didn't come down. And it's a disaster if a nose wheel of a packet doesn't come down. And if the nose wheel of a packet doesn't come down, there was a flight engineer on board, a flight lieutenant. He opened the panel, went down, and he saw the nose wheel is stuck up onto so he wanted to remove a bolt, a huge bolt, so that the nose wheel could come down and then put a nose pin, locking pin. So everybody was wondering, what are you trying to do? He says, hum kar sakte hain ye. He had the tools on board. He went inside the hole in the month of November in Agra and tried opening that bolt. Sir, his hands will freeze and he would come back and warm them up, go in again. He did it 6 times in 1 hour and finally removed that nut. The nose wheel fell down, put a bolt inside, and the packet landed safely. So he hung upside down to land. Tali incomplete hai. Tali incomplete hai because I have that officer here with us. Can we look back and give him a big hand? Group Captain S.C. Gaur, Shaurya Chakra for this act of his. A young flying officer flying into the valley in a Dakota, deep inside, has an engine failure. Now he has to come out of that valley. How he's come back through the trees and so on, got him a Shaurya Chakra. Group Captain Bala Subramaniam. In 1966-67, we had a CO in AN-12 Squadron by the name Wing Commander Mankotia. He went up to the chief and told him, sir, AN-12 se hum bombing kar sakte hain. He said, bombing kaise kar sakte hain? The chief, Arjun Singh, agreed to his theory. They converted the AN-12s into bombing role, how the pins will be put, how the bombs will be modified, how the rails will come. Anyway, they kept it aside. Didn't know in 71 it will be used. In 71, the CO had changed. Wing Commander Vashisht was the CO. And Wing Commander Mankotia, who had this fire in him to convert the transport aircraft into a bombing squadron, was posted as Station Commander Guwahati. So when on 4th of December, the AN-12s went for bombing there, he knocked the air headquarters. He said, I want to convert the Caribous into bomber. Aarthi. So the CO who took the AN-12s into Pakistan and hammered them out of shape, got a Mahavir Chakra, and Group Captain Mankotia, Station Commander Guwahati, who took the Caribous into East Pakistan, got a Veer Chakra. That's the kind of heroes we had. Again, the clapping is incomplete. His son, Mr. Mankotia, is here with us. I was lucky that I could get so many heroes amongst us who have done so much. And I asked the CO 41 Squadron a few months ago, I says, are your Doniers still going to lay and Thois? He said, what? My Doniers? Going to lay and Thois? Sir, kya baat kar rahe hain aap? Doniers don't go to lay and Thois. I said, but your squadron took the Doniers to lay and Thois. He said, no, he's never been there. Anyway, 26 years ago, the Donier did some trials, had some windows shattering and so, oxygen cylinders, idhar udhar karke. Finally, the Donier was cleared and it flew all the way to Leh. Then went to Thois, came back, aag to lagi thi. Next month, took the Donier to Kargil. Can we have that CO Group Captain Ravi sir, who took this Donier all the way in 2000, November and January 2001 to Leh and Kargil. I think we still have time. One more story. There was an aircraft. No, because, see, unless I excite you about the stories, abhi to 5-6 batayi hain. There are some 300 stories there. How will you know it unless you pick up the book?
So I think we're running short of time.
One last story. There was an aircraft by mistake in Machuca. All those who remember Machuca being a soft ground with just a muddy surface and PSP sheets way back in 1986, did a belly landing. Belly landing means the wheels were up and the aircraft landed on that Kacha runway. Aircraft invariably is written off. There was one young squad leader, an AEL officer, the Air Force will understand. He said, sir, मैं ठीक करता हूँ जहाज को. The whole command, everybody in the east was shocked. He said, कैसे ठीक करो? He said, मुझे दे दो. He took 3 months, sat in Machuca, put the aircraft up, locked the undercarriage, repaired the wings, removed the engine. Engines are removed in a hangar with cranes and they lifted up. He did all that, some crowbar and all laga ke. He removed the engines, changed the engines, repaired the aircraft. After 3 months, he said the aircraft is ready. He said, ready for what? He said, please bring it all the way to Jorat from Machuca. Okay, very well done. He's an AEL officer. You are not allowed to sign the Form 700 that he's rectified the aircraft because that's the job of an AEM officer. So he didn't sign, but the aircraft had to be brought back. He said, leke kaun aayega? I had to repair carry forward. Who will bring this aircraft back? Ladies and gentlemen, the CO of the other squadron and a flight lieutenant with him, they went all the way to Machuca, picked up the aircraft, was about to start when Squadron Gaur stopped them. He said, sir, I will come on board. He said, nobody will come on board. Aircraft is absolutely empty. Just the 2 of us will fly back. He said, sorry, sir. I have to certify that this aircraft is fit for flying. So he climbed on board and the 3 of them brought the aircraft all the way back to Jorat. That's the certification he gave that aircraft is fit to fly. And the CO of the squadron, I'm so lucky that Mrs. Rai is right here. Zaki sir has left us for a different world, but she's here and that was the CO. So these are the stories you will get to know. Somebody, when the Indian Air Force changed over to the first jet, the Boeing 737, we have Air Commodore Garcha with us who went to bring the Boeings all the way from USA.
Fascinating conversations. The book is full of such stories, and as Air Marshal Sachdeva said, that a lot of those stories even he didn't know. I mean, I am a complete outlier. I had no idea you've done so much.
How many of you knew that a baby was born on board an aircraft, Air Force aircraft? There's a caribou which was called to go into a village to pick up a lady who was in labor for last 10-15 days, and the dais and all in the village couldn't get the baby. So the aircraft went with the CO and a flying officer, A.R. Singh, again the same name, sir, landed in this place, picked up, and somebody came and said, the lady's gone. Eyes rolled up, froth coming out, she's gone. So CO tells the flying officer, bete, flying to main kar raha hu, aap jaake dekho. He said, main kya dekhu? He said, mujhe nahi pata, bachcha karo. So this boy went back, put the lady's head in her husband's lap, and he saw the hand of the baby coming out. He sucked the baby out, cleaned the baby with the mother's sari, gave the baby to the parents. They were so happy, she is alive. As soon as they landed, the squadron named that baby Caribou Singh.
On that note, Marshal Sachdeva, Kashmir se Kanyakumari tak, as you said, this book is full of stories. It's not just about the transport fleet. It's about the Indian Air Force. It's about India and how it's used its machines, magnificent men and their flying machines, and the women, of course. On that note, I hand it over to the MC. Please get copies of this book and pass the word around. You won't be disappointed.
I'll miss out if I don't thank Anchit Gupta to give me a big help. We know, each one of us knows Anchit Gupta. Anchit is also in this hall, and he's the one who's helped me a lot. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Sandeep, Unnithan, and Air Marshal Rajeev Sachdeva for that insightful dialogue. It gives us all a holistic perspective of the book. Please give them a round of applause. Now, moving forward with the proceedings, may I request Director CS3, Director CP&L, Publisher of the book Brigadier Rajendra Singh, Mrs. Hardeep Gill, Mrs. Neeta Sachdeva, Air Marshal Rajeev Sachdeva, DG USI Vice Admiral Sanjay J. Singh, and the Chief Guest, Air Chief Marshal Amar Preet Singh, Chief of the Air Staff, to please come on stage for the book launch. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your kind presence. We have now come to the end of the proceedings.
I'm Group Captain Balasubramani, and I got a Shauri Chakra and a voice in Amati. I'm a veteran. I retired in 2008 from the Indian Air Force. I come from Bangalore to attend this function. Okay. Amazing. More than me, my wife and children were keen that I should go and attend it.
Right.
You know, because armed forces are a family. We don't have any distinction between us. Like, there are so many air marshals who are here, chiefs will come, ex-chiefs have come. They all talk to us so nicely. They understand the type of task we perform. So, to that extent, it is a wonderful occasion. We are so happy to be here. We landed at Male to retrieve Mr. Abdul Qayyum, who was then the president, during Op Cactus, at night, without using lights. Okay, because we understand the topography of that island, we landed there at night to drop the troops and things.
I am Group Captain SC VSM, retired in 2003, for 40 years of very satisfying service. And very well organized, nice place, and you see the dignity which came. Everyone had some story behind him. This particular incident, what happened with me, it was in November 25th, 82. We were doing night flight, and it was supposed to be only half an hour to 45 minutes flying total. But as luck would have it, when we are about to land, we call the circuit landing, when the last circuit was done, the nose wheel remained red, like that means that indicates the nose wheel is not down and low. So I told the captain, Goli, please go round. He went round, he came back again. Next time again the same story was there. It was main landing gears were green, but nose was red. So I told him, first reaction was, what the bloody hell? That is a fuzzy, way of telling anything. And I told him, sir, climb, let me go and see. When I saw the landing gear was not aligned, and not what fully down, it took me nearly 47 minutes. I had to go out in the open. At flying at 4,500 feet, I went out 6 times outside the aircraft. And the bulb which was there, that bulb fell. So I asked the captain to face into the moon. If the moon is right, to go to the moon, so I can get some light. It took nearly 6 times I went out inside, and finally I was totally drained. That is the time I remember I took 100% oxygen. Fortunately, oxygen was there in the aircraft. I inhaled 100% oxygen for almost 4 minutes, and I just said, Jai Bajrangbali, Jai Mata ki kuch kara do.